Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. My name is Mike, and I have never believed in curses until I stumbled into the dark web's twisted marketplace. Late one night, curiosity got the better of me, and I found myself navigating the hidden corners of the internet, drawn to the forbidden. That's when I discovered a site selling cursed items, relics with ominous histories. It was an auction-like website selling objects that were supposedly cursed or bring bad luck. Browsing the catalog, the item that caught my eye was a weathered antique mirror rumored to have been carried by a French prostitute, apparently after passing due to the typhoid flu. And since her passing, every other person who's had the mirror fell ill inexplicably. Now, you might wonder why I decided to bid on the item, but to be honest, like I said at the beginning, I didn't believe in curses at that time. I just thought that it would be a cool and macabre thing to have. So, instead of being terrified that I had won the bidding, I was actually excited. The mirror arrived at my city apartment in discreet packaging, and as I unwrapped it, a chill ran down my spine. The ornate frame seemed to exude an unsettling aura. From the moment the cursed mirror entered my life, things took a turn for the worst. And while I was fine health-wise, I was just simply unlucky since the mirror came. Soon, the number of bad days doubled, and I became more miserable as the weeks went on. I simply brushed this off, as the only thing the mirror claimed to do was health-related, so I thought that it was a coincidence. But there are no coincidences in this world. My relationships crumbled, and an inexplicable cloud of misfortune followed me like a relentless shadow. I could feel eyes on me, even in the solitude of my own apartment. But it wasn't until I had a permanent and nasty cuff that I connected it to the mirror. Desperation drove me to search for a way to break the curse. Online forums offered little solace, and the dark web seller was untraceable. It was as if the curse had woven itself into the fabric of my own reality, leaving me isolated and tormented. One fateful night, I confronted the mirror, demanding an end to the misery that it had brought into my life. But of course, nothing stared back at me except for my own reflection. So I sought the help of a paranormal expert, but even they were unnerved by the cursed artifact's presence. Attempts at exorcism were proven useless, and the malevolence embedded in the mirror seemed to feed off my desperation. Haunted by the curse, I decided to rid myself of the accursed object. I disposed of the mirror in a remote location, hoping to sever the ties that bound me to its dark influence. Yet, as I walked away, I had a coughing fit, a final reminder that curses, once unleashed, are not easily escaped. My life, once filled with promise, became a cautionary tale. The cursed mirror, now buried in a place far away from where I lived, still has its grip. My coughing still hasn't gone away, so I'm trying to remove everything related to the mirror, including all the things related to the dark web. My name is Jake, and what I'm about to share still sends shivers down my spine. It all began with a fascination for the unknown, a curiosity that led me down a path that I never thought I'd tread. Late one night, fueled by the whispers of online forums and the allure of the forbidden, I ventured into the dark web. The sites I stumbled upon were like a hidden underworld, a digital maze of secrets and illicit activities. Among them, I found a platform promising access to information that lay beyond the reach of conventional searches. Intrigued, I dug deeper, unknowingly laying the groundwork for the nightmare that awaited me. I became a regular, joining into forums where I posted and commented on things. I had over time gained some recognition from the other posters on the site, getting upvotes and reposts on most of the things that I put on there. I also in time had a devoted commenter, no matter what I said on whichever forum that I posted on. Their name was Shadow Walker. Edgy name, I know, but for the life of me, I wish I kept that thought to myself, because once I let that slip, my devoted commenter became my hate-filled stalker. The first sign of trouble came in the form of cryptic messages delivered to my inbox from Shadow Walker. The messages were unnervingly specific, describing my daily routines, my favorite hangouts, and even the mundane details of my apartment. Panic set in as I grappled with the realization that someone was always watching me, both online and it seemed in the real world too. The stalking escalated with each passing day. Shadow Walker's messages took on a more sinister tone, detailing how they would reach out and touch me whenever they pleased. My city, once vibrant and familiar, transformed into a haunting landscape where every shadow concealed a potential threat. One evening, as I returned home, I found a chilling note on my doorstep. It said, "You can't hide." The boundary between the digital and physical worlds blurred, and the city that I thought I knew became a sinister playground for my unseen tormentor. Determined to break free from the web of terror, I reported the stalking to the authorities. But Shadow Walker remained elusive, leaving no trace to follow. My apartment became a fortress, my every outing a nerve-wracking expedition through the shadows of potential danger. I lived in constant fear, and my mind a battleground of paranoia and desperation. The city, once my sanctuary, now felt like a cage closing in on me. My watcher's presence was an ever-looming threat, a reminder that the consequences of my dark web curiosity had transcended the digital realm. My story is a warning to those tempted by the hidden corners of the internet. The dark web's allure may seem enticing, but the price of venturing into its depths can be a descent into a real-life nightmare, one where the shadows of a city harbor more than just secrets. The deep web is one of the most amazing things on earth, not because of how joyful it makes people or anything, but because it is a completely uncensored view of people. You can speak your mind, buy what you want, do anything you want. When on the deep web, you have complete and total freedom. I had always been fascinated by the deep web, and at the time the events in the story occurred, I was in college. Lots of people at my campus had really been getting into accessing the deep web. It was almost like a trend. And with so many people getting on it, it seemed perfectly safe for me to give it a try. Now, I had always heard of the deep web horror stories of hacking, stumbling on disgusting sites, and people even somehow finding your address. These stories were mainly what kept me off the deep web. But with most of the people at my college using it on a normal basis, I decided to give it a go. I asked a friend to come over and help me set it up. And when my friend arrived, we opened up my laptop and began to set everything up. He told me that we were using Tor. It's a program that lets you access the deep web. He also asked me if I was planning on doing anything illegal, to which I replied no. He said that since I wasn't, we didn't need to install Tails, Tails, which is apparently a software that makes it more secure if you plan on doing illegal things. A little while later, when everything was set up, I had my new IP address, and my friend gave me a brief rundown of what to do and what not to do. He made it very clear that when I was using the hidden wiki, that I kept it on censored mode so that it would be less likely for me to see something that I didn't want to see. After about 2 weeks of using the deep web, I felt like a pro. I had accessed many different sites, spoken with some great people, I've made friends, and even bought some weed. I had become cocky, and I was ready to dig deeper into the dark web. I turned off the censored mode on the hidden wiki, and I began to browse the links. It took a while, mostly because Tor is a bit slow, and many of the links just led to dead web pages. But eventually, I stumbled onto a site called All the Gore. It was mainly a big chat room with many different topics. I had a fairly strong stomach, and I had seen many violent movies, and I had seen beheadings, killings, etc. through the normal internet. After looking at a few different chat rooms, I noticed how sick this site really was. The people in these chat rooms were actual killers, bragging about some of the things that they had done. And in the chat room, you could also post pictures. One man by the name of Culture045 had the stage in one of the chat rooms. He was explaining in detail how he had broken into someone's house, kidnapped a little girl, and brutally killed her parents by hiding under their bed and then opening their throats. He then explained how he brought the little girl back to his house, did nasty things to her, beat her, and then cut her up. I didn't think he was telling the truth at first, but then he posted pictures. These were the most horrifying pictures that I have ever seen. Close-ups of the poor 8 to 10-year-old girl brutally being beaten and cut with a knife. Culture kept posting pictures, and the new ones were of the little girl tied to a chair, bleeding, crying, throwing up, and etc. And then he showed a picture of him with a drill, drilling into her skull. The most haunting part is that while he was doing it, he was looking at the camera with sheer joy in his face. I had seen enough, and I typed in the chat room window, "You people are sick, and you deserve to die. How can you sleep at night?" Immediately, people began making fun of me, saying that I was just as helpless and as ignorant as the little girl in the pictures, and that I should get off the big boy part of the internet. And they began saying that I was a pussy, and then calling me an empath. When Culture typed something in the chat box, he said, "Really? Where do you live, buddy? I'm sure everybody would love to see you on this site." I then made the biggest mistake of my life, and I typed, "I'm calling the police, and I'm having the site shut down." Less than a minute later, everything on the site went black, and a new chat box appeared in green. In it, someone named Admin1 typed in the box. He said, "Call the cops. and you will regret it." I didn't type anything in the box, and I reached for my phone. And what happened next haunts me to this day. My phone said that I had a new message. I opened it and it said, "Call the police and you're dead." There was no number. It didn't even say unknown number. It was just blank. I looked back at my laptop and saw my webcam light turn on. I quickly covered it, but I saw on the screen a picture of me looking at my phone. I got wide-eyed and I froze for a moment when the admin typed again, "Put the phone down right now and uncover your webcam." I put my phone down, but I kept the webcam covered when he typed again, "Okay then, be like that." Right after, he posted my full name, age, and address in the chat box and typed, "It would be a shame if you and your college buddies went missing, wouldn't it?" he said. I then did as he said, and I uncovered my webcam. He then told me to follow his instructions and how to make it impossible for me to reach the site again. I followed each and every one, and when I finished, I got a text that said, "Now don't ever try and come back." And just like before, it had no number. I still called the police from my friend's phone, but they were never able to find the site. If you ever go on the deep web, don't ever just mindlessly explore, especially if you don't have additional software to keep you more secure. I was a stupid college kid, and I just hope that nobody makes the same mistakes that I did. I moved to a different home and I changed all of my information, but I still get nightmares to this day. This happened to me a few days after. I was extremely rattled by what had happened, and the police tried to track down the website, but since there was no way for them to recover my history, and I had originally found the sick site by just randomly clicking links, it seemed pretty hopeless to find it. The police told me to change all my information about myself and then to move in with a friend. After changing pretty much everything, I decided to move in with my friend David. David was an extremely honest, hard-working person. He never went to parties, he never slacked off, he never got drunk or high, and he was very dedicated to finishing college. In fact, he was one of the few kids that I knew at that time who wasn't getting on the deep web regularly. I had told him all about my experience with the deep web, and that's mostly why he agreed to let me stay with him. One night, we were both up studying very late when my phone went off. I looked to see who had texted me, and I saw that the person sending the message had no number, just like last time. It read, "Check your computer." And there was nothing else to it, just one simple instruction. I opened my laptop, and when I did, I noticed that I didn't have control of the mouse. I tried to move it, but the mouse had just moved on its own. Someone had remote access to my computer. I never gave anyone remote access before. I tried a whole bunch of keyboard commands, but not a single one worked. I noticed that whoever had control of my laptop was downloading a software, most likely malware, but there was nothing that I could do. I heard my phone go off again, and this time the message said, "Look out your window." I was sitting right by a window, and I didn't know which window the guy was referring to, so I just looked out the one that I was sitting by. And I saw a man in the parking lot, leaning up against a white van. He had a phone in his hand, and when I looked at him, he nodded. My phone went off again. It said, "Type in and hold down Shift Alt F5 at the same time to activate the software." I called in David to my room to show him what was going on, and he seemed just as nervous as I was. But with the man just outside our window, we didn't want to anger him. David called the police right away and told me that they would be there soon. I didn't activate the software, and I just sat there. Eventually, I got another text that said, "I am coming in if you don't do it right now." I didn't know why he or the person in control of my computer couldn't do it, but I didn't dare to ask. At the same time though, I was 99% sure that this program had malware or spyware or something that would be very harmful to my computer, so I refused to activate it. David grabbed a baseball bat just in case that the man outside tried to come in. And about 5 minutes later, we heard the doorknob turning. It was locked, but we then heard banging at the door. We both freaked out and I looked out the window again. Sure enough, the man and the van were gone. The banging on the door got more and more violent until eventually we heard a horrible scratching sound. It lasted a few more minutes, and then we heard footsteps walk down the hall and eventually fade away. I then received another text that said, "We will be back." That really got to me. When the cops arrived, they told me to look at my door. I followed them back out into the hallway, and I saw engraved in our door my name. The police began investigating the whole building, and they had a tech police officer come in and then look at my computer. He began to do scans and investigate the weird software on my laptop. Eventually, he managed to close and remove it, and then told me that my laptop isn't safe. He said the core files of it had been hacked into and corrupted. We did a complete wipe of my laptop, and he looked at my phone as well. And just like last time, he couldn't tell where the messages came from and told me that they would be sure to keep some cops nearby in case this ever happened again. The next day, I had just got home from school and I was really tired. David wasn't home yet, so I went into my room and I fell into the bed. I just began to close my eyes when I heard a rattling sound in my closet. I lifted my head up and I didn't hear it again, so I just went back to sleep. After a few minutes, the closet door swung open and I leaped out of bed and I saw a man with a mask walking over to me. I ran for the door and slammed it behind me, and I ran out to the parking lot, started my car, and I drove away as fast as I could. By the time the police arrived, the man was of course gone, and the apartment, surprisingly, hadn't been wrecked or anything. We didn't even find anything stolen. He didn't seem to do anything at first. This night, 2 police officers were monitoring everyone who came in and out of the building in order to catch the man. I opened my laptop and I noticed that my wallpaper had changed. It was just a bunch of trees, but it had been changed to a sickening photo of a man with a mask. The same mask that I saw on the man who was in my closet, and he was digging a knife into a baby's eye in what looked like a small cabin. I also noticed that all my applications and programs were gone, and I saw the same software as last time right in the middle of it. I clicked on it, and it had already been installed. And just like last time, it filled the entire screen, and what looked like a live stream was going on. I couldn't exit out, and the live stream was coming from a boy's house. He looked about 13 or maybe 14 and was at his computer. It didn't take long for me to see that I was watching through his webcam, and he had no idea. I then saw a small chat box pop up in the top right of the screen, and in it, someone typed in the box and said, "Welcome to our live stream. We are glad everyone could be here. Thank you, John, for being here as well." My eyes got very wide. My name was John, and they were waiting until I was watching to start the live stream. As I watched, I saw that the closet door behind the poor boy slowly opened, and a man walked out with a toolbox in one hand. He quietly set the toolbox down and pulled out some duct tape. He went behind the kid and put the tape over his mouth and then grabbed him tight. The poor kid's face was of total fear. He tried to scream, but he couldn't because of the tape. They were making a decent amount of noise, so it told me that the kid must have been home alone. The next following things are extremely disturbing, so please proceed with caution. I tried hard to exit out, but I couldn't, and I then saw the man take out a screwdriver and then drive it into its chest. Blood began to pour out, and the kid made a full wheezing type noise. I saw tears come from his eyes as this sick man began to drive the screwdriver deeper and deeper and then yank it out. The man then took out a hammer and smashed the hand several times until there were nothing more than a mangled bloody mess. I tried every single command that I could to exit out, but nothing was working. I noticed that in the chat box, several people were cheering the man on and requesting for him to do different things to the boy. The man then took out a handheld electric saw, pressed it against the boy's face, and then turned it on. The boy screamed with pain as the saw went up into his eye, causing blood to go everywhere and get on the camera a little as well. I started to get tears in my eyes as I couldn't stop it. Then the man took a screwdriver and took the kid's eyes out. And then he took out a large knife. He proceeded to slit the boy's throat and then tossed him on the ground. I was sick. I threw up all over the floor, and when I looked back, I saw in the chat box people typing in horrible things like, "Oh my God, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this," and etc. And in the box, I saw someone named Culture045 type into the box and said, "Thanks for watching, John." After that, the program closed on its own, and I was left with a sickening wallpaper. I was sweating, breathing heavy, and I was feeling sick. Throughout the entire thing, I didn't realize that my phone had gone off several times. I looked at it, and the most hateful, mean messages were coming from my friends and family. I asked my mom what was wrong, and she texted back, "You sent that sick, disturbing live stream to everyone. I can't believe who you are. The police have been called." I felt even more sick than before. Those monsters had sent that live stream to all my friends somehow and made it come from me. They had pretty much ruined my life within a couple of minutes. And when the police arrived, I told them everything that had happened, and quickly they managed to explain to all my friends and also my family what had happened. They really cracked down on finding these people, and a month later, 4 men had been arrested. One was Culture045, and the other was Admin 1, and the 2 others were working with him. The site was found and shut down as well, and I got a new laptop and phone. I could say some horror cliche here, and say something like I kept getting text messages or I kept hearing weird things. But ever since, none of that happened. They were arrested, and I never heard anything further. It's good to know that those men are in jail or perhaps even dead. But what scares me is all the other people watching the live stream who were there for pleasure and are still out there, and that there is probably thousands of other Culture 045s out there, all over the world. If you ever go on the deep web, make damn sure that you're as careful as possible. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.